Hey guys, it's Cindy over at paper.old.new. Thanks for stopping by and spending time with me today. I'm back from my trip. Told you I was going away. You'll hear more about that in my next video, but I wanted to get caught back up with making with my mess because these file folder things are fun and I want to get the next one out. I know I didn't miss one of these. I didn't get anything to you on Friday, but yeah, it was just a lot of planning and I wasn't able to get it. But I hope you enjoyed the Hobby Lobby haul. That was kind of fun going in for specific items. And today we are going to look at putting together another one of these file folder things. I really like this one. So it opens here and then this folds out and then you have a flip up. You have this little accordion thing. Okay, and then you have this opens, and when you close all this back up and you turn it to the back, it's got a pocket, a big pocket back here. Okay, so that's what we're going to make. So let's get our file folders. Let me put this off to the side over here. And I'm going to get my ruler. Oops, it fell off my desk. It's all right, I'll get it in a minute. I'm going to get my ruler and my knife. And we're gonna kind of play it by ear with the covering. When I printed this kit, I wanted to use this kit. And when I printed this kit, I was very good about putting backing paper on it. So we'll see if I want to go ahead and use some of these anyway. Let me not get sidetracked. Let's do the pieces first. There are a few pages here that I didn't print on the back of. And the only reason I'm thinking about that is because to cover, I'm going to glue them down. And I didn't want to, basically I didn't want to waste the ink. But, okay. Enough of that yammering. Okay, so the way you do this to make the original part is, this time we're not going to trim the ends. You saw on my original one that it still had the file folder ends. Okay, so the pocket is this piece. So we're going to turn this around that way. You're going to fold this one in, okay, just to the middle, like we did before. All right, so this is going to make the base, the outside part. You're going to take this file folder and you're going to do this. All right, good. And then you have this that folds around. All you're going to do is take this piece and fold it back so that the tab is at the edge there, makes a pocket. And you want this to be a little bit bigger than this. See how it ends up being bigger. I'm not really sure. Oh, because one piece, that's why it works better. This piece of the file folder is shorter, right? So this flap doesn't come all the way to the end here. When you lay them flat, this piece is shorter. So you want to take the shorter flap and fold it in. And you want to take the bigger flap to make your pocket. That's what it was. I knew there was a reason. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is, you remember all those other little bits that were in here. So this is the base. So we have our part that opens in the front and our flap that opens, and then on the back is our pocket. And remember, we had all those goodies in here. So inside here, we're going to have this, and we're going to have this, and we're going to have this. So we need to make all those pieces. And that's going to take, believe it or not, 2 more file folders. Okay. I got a bunch up here. I'm not really sure why I have all of these. Okay. Now, if I measure, if I'm not mistaken, this comes out to be a little less than 4.5 inches wide. Okay. So if I cut this, let's cut this one, because remember, this side is shorter. If I cut this to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, we're going to do 8.5. And remember, we do end up cutting off part of the length. Guys, I was away for a week. Okay. All right, so we're going to cut that off. Now you can save that to use to make a tab or something if you want to. All right, so we're going to cut that off. And then what I need for this piece to be 11 inches tall. Because that's how tall this is. Now you can cut it shorter once you get it done if you don't want it the exact same height. Like if you want it to sit inside and not be the exact same height, you can always cut it shorter than that. But for now, I'm going to cut it at 11 inches. Yeah, let's just do it this way. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And I'm going to cut it right here. Okay, and we have our 11-inch piece. All right, now, I like to let this flap work for me. So on the piece that I glued inside here, I'm going to cut it away so that I keep the hinge. Does that make sense? So that you get to keep the file folder hinge. So basically, all I did was I came here and I cut right along this. I went to the, okay, so this is the fold in the middle of the folder, and I cut about 3/4 of an inch past the fold. That gives me a nice, good, wide enough piece to glue down and hold my flap down. Plus, I'm probably going to end up covering it with whatever I decorate with, so. Okay, and that gives me my, right? Now, we cut this to 8 1/2. So what that ends up doing is giving me a 4 1/4. If I cut this in half, I get 4 1/4 and 4 1/4, which works out perfectly because that gives me my flap. Now, if you wanted your flap to be, you'll see here my flap is a little bit shorter. In this particular one, it's going to be even more short because I don't think I think I cut this to 11 after I cut it off. And I think I had that the full length so that I have a piece to fold around the back. I know I'm confusing you, but 1, 2, 3, 4 1/4 is going to be right here. To attach this piece, I'm going to lose some height. So you have to decide how much height you want to lose is basically what I'm saying. When I did it before, I gave myself a nice big piece because I didn't cut the whole folder down. And that allowed me to keep, have a nice wide piece up here and keep some length down here. But it'll work. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to take this piece. This piece will glue in right here. Oh, you know what I haven't done? I haven't trimmed this folder down. This one is not 11 inches. Let's do that. Let me see. What do I want to trim? I think I'm going to trim this top side. I actually have enough that I could trim both ends if I wanted to get a little bit of the curves off. Some people like all the curves. I like some of them. I don't like all of them. So I'm going to take 1/4 inch off here. Actually, it's a little more than 1/4 inch. And I'm going to take 1/4 inch off here. And I'm hoping that takes away the one little dip on the end. That's just personal preference. If you don't care about that and you like all those little file folder curves and dips, then you go ahead and just cut it off. I'm talking about this little piece and this little piece. Those are the two little dips I'm trying to get rid of. Just so you know. Okay, now I open this up. This is where my flap is going to go. Like that. All right, and I'm going to put it right in that crease so that I have nothing hanging out on this side. All right. Now what I need to decide. This is the cover of my folder. I want to start covering things so that I know there are certain things I want to cover before I put this stuff on. It just makes it easier. So let me look. Let's look and see. What's this one? No. No. Sorry, I'm looking for a cover. Ooh, wait. Ooh, I don't really want to. See, it's going to fold it right there. And then it would give me room to decorate. All right, that's a maybe. These are maybes. Which is funny because I don't want to use the ones where I put a design on the back. This one would be this. This would be my cover. Nope, don't want that. Okay. My other thought was to do this. I want to come right up to this edge, and then I was going to decorate this tab. See that black? It printed funny. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this one. So I'm going to go ahead and cover this outer piece. See if I can protect my glue mat for as long as possible. I like to do some of my covering before I get my pieces together. Now, as we go, if it makes more sense to put the piece on and then do the covering, I will do that. But I really don't, I like to have as minimal amount of stuff in my way when I do this as possible. And I want it to curve around and cover, you know, all the surfaces that I want covered, if that makes sense. So I'm going to cover as I go. I do have the one already put together that I will eventually cover, and most likely, well, I'll find out then whether or not it's any easier or harder to cover after it's put together. So I'm going to put this on here like this. Okay. Once again, if you have tall, narrow projects and you want journaling kits to do tall, narrow projects, please head over and check out my shop. I do all my kits in a tall, narrow version because I like making tall, narrow projects, and I wanted to have kits that were ready to go for a tall, narrow project. So whenever I make a kit, I make the whole kit landscape like we would normally. have. And then I turn it on its side and rearrange all the pieces to make a tall, narrow version. So I get it as close as I can. Sometimes elements have to be rearranged a little bit or resized a little bit. But I just like having the tall, narrow version. And now with these lovely file folder things, this is another way they can be used. I thought when I was doing, I think I said this the last time, when I made my first tall, narrow kit, or my thought for making these tall, narrow kits was when I was making flip-flop journals. And I wanted stuff that was tall and skinny to use in my flip-flop journal. So I just decided it would be a good idea to try and make some of the kits that I like. Now, I've also said that I like folding things around to finish edges. So I'm going to fold this around here, and then when I cover in here, I'll overlap. Oops. Ooh, that's a lot of glue. And we'll get the edges covered. Yeah, I will be talking about my trip some on Wednesday. When you see the video that I put out for Wednesday, it's going to be exciting, guys. I can't wait. I can't wait to record it. I am really, really looking forward to getting into it. I'll give you a hint. I did some shopping while I was away. So you'll have to come back and see me on Wednesday. All right. So that's our cover now, which will be nice. And then what I'll do is I'll accent it with some 3D stuff or ruffles and lace and whatnot. And that'll be our cover. Now, what we want to do is I am going to go ahead and put our long piece in, because now what happens is I can put this piece in, and if I want to, I can cover across like this, right? So say I wanted to put this in here, if I can get a hold of it. I can put this in here like this. Okay. And then it covers this seam and everything it looks smooth. I don't know if I'll use that one. I have 5 that I didn't put anything on the back of to choose from. So we'll see what we end up putting there. But let's go ahead and put this flap on. Oh my gosh, my glue. I'm trying not to waste all this stuff that bubbles out the top. Which is also why I have this nearby. So if I put a big swath of glue, I can spread it out. This bottle's almost empty. It wasn't too long ago I emptied it into my Sugar Bell bottle. Now my Sugar Bell bottle's almost empty, and it's like it never ends. Okay, let's put this one down. So how's everybody been? Summer's coming to an end. Oh gosh, guys. So I told you my daughter was going to be going to school, right? Well, they have uniforms, and I meant to order them before we left for vacation because school's coming up in like 10 days or less. 10 days, maybe 11. I don't know, something like that. And she has to have uniforms. I didn't get the order out before we left, and I'm afraid they're not going to get here before she needs them. It should have been like the first thing I did when I got back after I unpacked, and it wasn't. So it'll be something that I do tomorrow. Once again, it's kind of in the evening here, late, and I actually just got back today. I've been away for so long that I wanted to get back in my craft room and do something. So here I am. Okay, so that's our flap. We have our flap in there, and then this folds over that, and then this folds closed, and there we are. Okay, so now what we want to do is I cut that piece in half. I'm burying everything. I'm making a mess. And I grabbed hold of the wrong thing. This is what happens when I go away for a week. I forget how to use my craft room. Just so you know. Okay. That's my extra one. Here's my flap. Okay. This is the piece I was looking for. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to glue this one. Oh, that's what I did wrong. I knew there was something. So we're going to have to do it a little bit differently. Normally, I would glue it to the outside and let it flip over, but you can just as easily glue it to the inside and let it flip over. So it's going to be... All right, so we'll fold, and see I have space down here. Okay, and I'm okay. That's not a bad length. I'm okay with that. So let's glue this down. Again, I'm using glue, so let's not waste it. Okay, so we're going to put this down right in here. Actually, you know what I want to do? I want to do like this so that I don't... I don't want it to interfere with... I want it to be down as far as it can to close, and I don't want it to interfere with anything else. Okay, so just like that. Okay. Now on my original, you can see I glued it out here, so it was on the front cover. So I would have covered that. This is what I was talking about when I said whether or not I want to cover it before I assemble it or after I assemble it. So if I had put this on the outside, I would have covered this after I put that flap on, and it would have covered up that hinge. Now we're going to cover up the hinge on the inside. We'll just cover it up when we cover this. Okay, so there's my hinge, and there's my book, and then there's my flap. All right, make sure that's not catching too bad. No, it's not. Okay. All right, now the only thing we have left is the little accordion piece, which is this, right? So what I would like to do is make it so that I have, let me see what I ended up doing here. How wide are these? I'm hoping around 4 inches. Actually, they're a little less than 4 inches. I also folded them wrong the first time, so it's got a crease in there that's not supposed to be there, which will get fixed when I cover it, but I was just checking some measurements. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this, another file folder. This isn't big enough in my opinion. I mean, you could take this and do it. I didn't like the way this turned out, if I'm honest. I didn't think it was enough. Oops. I didn't think it was enough folds the way I would have wanted it to fold. So I would have wanted one more fold in this. Okay, and then this would be my glue down piece. Now you can do it this way. It will just only have 3 flaps instead of 4. I think I liked it better with 4 flaps, which was the reason why I ended up cutting a third envelope. I mean, a third folder. If you don't want to cut a third folder and you just want to use up the second folder that you cut, you can just do this. In which case, this would sit on your, let's see. See, this was my issue, I think. Okay, so you would put this on here like this. I mean, I guess that works. Let's do that with this one. So this was the other side of the folder from where I cut this piece and this piece from. This was the other side. Okay, it was what was left after cutting this piece at the hinge. All right, and you saw I just accordion folded it into thirds with a little bit left over for my glue down piece. I really hope I'm not being overly confusing. All right, so we're going to glue this little piece. And again, because this is a hinge piece and I'm going to want to cover up the hinge, there will be a piece of covering paper that goes over this. So if it's a little crooked or if it's not, you know, cut straight or, you know, whatever, you don't have to worry about it. Oh, also, if you don't like any of these shapes, now would probably be the time to trim them off. And I didn't really think about that because I don't want those on there. Well, just going to end up having to run my knife through my glue. I'm going to cut this a little shorter. Oh, and I have to put my ruler in my glue. Okay, there, no ruler in the glue. All right, now you decide where on here you want it and just line it up how close to the edge you want it, and then just glue it down on your edge of your, on the edge of your flap. So we get that on there like that. Get the fold in there real good. And then we have this nice little fold out on our flap. And you see how crooked that is and everything? When I put my piece of paper on here to cover this, it won't matter. And I'm glad I put this down now before I put my covering here. Okay, so I guess there is a lot to think about. It's probably better to assemble this one before you, because it's got so many hinges and stuff. So let's see if we can get it covered, and then you know, we'll go from there. See how far we get. I was thinking, okay, so let's go ahead, and I'm going to start at this edge since this is the one I want to line up right at the edge. Now, you can take the way I do this with a grain of salt because, you know, I'm sure everybody has their own methods for this. This is just the way I'm looking at it and going, okay, this is how I want this to go together. I've never covered anything like this before. Well, I mean, I've done envelopes for flip-flop journals, so I guess it's similar. And And I hope I'm not too far out. I hope you can still see everything I'm doing. I didn't zoom in this time because, as you can see, I am spreading myself all over this table. And I just wanted to make sure that you could see everything I was doing. So if you guys need me to get closer now that I know how to use my zoom function, I want to say that I really appreciate the person who suggested that I get closer, because it got me to look into using my zoom function, which, if I'm honest, I had thought about doing and then totally forgot about it. And when she said something, I was like, oh, I should look into using my zoom. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And if you guys, want me to zoom in more on the craft videos, let me know. I'm out on this one, like I said, because I want you to see everything that I'm working on. Although you probably just want to see this part rather than all the other extra stuff. But, okay, and then we're going to glue this on here, and this should still be able to open. All right. So I'm going to glue all the way over, and then I'm probably going to end up having to trim a little bit out right here and a little bit out right here because I want it to overlap this hinge also. Okay, so look at that. All that oozing off of there. Let's get this off of here because we can. Well, it's a little bit ridiculous when it starts doing all that oozing. I'm not gonna lie. Okay. So we're gonna go. I know I want to go in this hinge, and I think I want to go a little beyond it, but what I might do is get the hinge, get all this glued down, and then trim the edges, and then glue the piece on here down. And I'll show you what I mean in just a minute. I'm sure you get it. I'm not. Or maybe you don't. I can imagine that I am very confusing with all this yammering that I do and getting sidetracked, and because I know I do that too. I get sidetracked, and I'm just trying to flatten it out a little bit because I've been getting it's been a little bumpy. Okay, so I want it right up against there. Okay. Clean that off at the end where the glue came out. And I want to make sure that, this folds nice and evenly. So that'll go there. Fold that open. And then fold it shut. See, and then that has a nice seam to it. Okay, now what I was talking about here was, see how I have this little piece here and this little piece here? I can do one of two things. I can just clip it. That's the other reason I didn't want to zoom. I'm working with a big piece, and I'm afraid if I zoom out or zoom in, I won't be able to, I'll go out of screen too much. Okay, so I can do that and then bring these pieces around like that. Okay. And then glue this piece down. So we're going to glue this piece down onto here. And that will cover the inside part of this book. Well, at least the inside part of this flap. Then we're going to go underneath and see what we can cover with. Okay, so we have that like that. And then what I'll do is I'll cover this with something and fold it up, and it will come over to this crease. So that's my hinge right there. So this will fold like that. And this part will get covered with whatever I cover that with. Okay. Now, let's open this up. And we have this now. And what I'm thinking is we put the yellow sheets together that way, or this one needs to go right up to its edge, which will bring it right up to the fold. This one, so this will be uncovered over here. Actually, that's the top of the pocket. We haven't glued the pocket shut. Okay, that's all right. Or should I have it the way I had it before? This one overlapping that one. I guess the real question is, what do I want folded? Because that's going to get folded over, or, sorry. Okay, so that's going to go like that, and then this would overlap it. The question is, do I like that? And the answer is, eh. Let me pull it out a little bit. That's a little better. And then when I fold it, it's going to fold so that, well, I think I like it the other way better, even though I don't get the whole, I don't get all of this, but I like this better. So this is going to go on top of this. So we need to glue this down first. It doesn't need to be a big overlap. As a matter of fact, I think I'm just going to go to that first notch in the file folder fold. Why is that? You know what? Stop asking questions and just glue. How about that? Do I have enough in there? I do. All right. Let's do this half. I try to do them in halves just so that I don't have glue sitting and drying. And as you can see, I'm using one of the ones I didn't really want to use. I didn't realize that's what I had. These are my... This is not a blank either. No. Fine. Already decided now. I'm not a huge fan of using the ones that I printed on the back of, just because I'm gluing them down and I feel like that's a waste of some very expensive ink. My husband got me this really fancy printer, and I love my printer, and it prints great. Awesome printing. It gorgeous detail, you know, the whole bit. It's just the ink. It's high quality ink, and it's massively expensive. Not that all ink isn't just massively expensive, because it is. But, okay. Now, I'm going to glue this half down. As you can see, I've got glue seepage again. Which is fine. I'll just... I'm almost down to the bottom of this bottle. Like this. And then I'll just decorate the, like the tabs and stuff. And more than likely that tab up there is going to get clipped with a corner rounder. And it'll look a little bit different than its other corner, but I've clipped one side of one before, and I don't mind the way it looks. I don't mind the difference. So I can show you what I mean for that too. So you can see. Normally I would wait and cover, do whatever I'm going to do to the tab, or decide what I'm going to do to the tab, and then clip it, but I'll go ahead and clip it, and then, because what I'm going to do with it is close it onto a pocket, and I need to clip it before I do that, so. Got lots of glue under there. Well, it's just not going anywhere. Okay, now this, I don't have to worry about covering this surface, because this folds like this. And this gets glued as our pocket. Okay, so it'll be like that, and this will be our pocket. The one thing I will have to do is cover this, because I folded that around, and I don't want that as what you can see. So we'll cover this with something. And that'll be, I'm not worried about that bulging because, like I said, that's the bottom of the pocket. That's going to get folded around. All right, we're going to glue these little tabs down. They don't have to be glued down real well because I'm going to cover them up. But just to hold them down for now. Okay, and then we're going to glue this on here. We're going to cover up all of these little flaps and things that we glued down. And I'm going to overlap it onto this. Okay, so we're going to glue all of this and cover all of this up. All right. Ooh. Yeah, it's starting to pull dry glue off, and I don't want that under there, so let's get that off. Okay. Now, the one thing I do want to do so that the fold doesn't so that this doesn't interfere with the fold is I want to glue this down on here in the fold, but not, I don't want to go over the fold. So I want this to go right up to the side. So I lift this side up and glue right up against that wall. So that hopefully when this folds, it does not fold this edge. I do not want it to fold that edge. Okay, let's get this last piece down. Then the only thing I need to do is figure out what I want to cover the edge of that pocket with. And this one will be covered. Okay. I'll get glue on my other pages. That's not smart. Okay. All right. This is wanting to lift, so let's make sure. Whoa. It's also wanting to ooze. Now, what I might end up having to do is let this dry really good before I go trying to fold it. Yeah, it's trying to come up right there. So we might have to let that dry before we go trying to fold this flap closed, because that's wanting to come up all along here. So I want that to be nice and dry and glued down, and I don't want to stress it. So I'm going to leave that open, and what we'll do is we'll flip it over. And we haven't covered that yet. But for now, we can flip that down and get it out of the way. Okay, so what I want to do is, see, this is an example of what happens when you don't wait. See how that's all curled and weird? Yeah. Okay, what I want to do is figure out what I want to cover right along there with. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at some scraps. So let me check I should have checked before I got into this, but I'm going to check now. Okay, I got a few strips out of basically what we're going to do is we're going to do something like this. And we're going to see what we like best on here with this pocket. That actually, colors-wise, that goes really well. So we'll keep that one in mind. The other thought was something like this. That goes with this, but that's not what it's going to be seen with. Okay, we don't like that. Or at least I don't like that. I don't know about we. This one might be okay, just because, it ties in with the colors. But so far, I don't like just seeing the one row of dots. So I think I'm going to leave that out. This doesn't show enough of the flowers, and that's... No, okay, so the winner is this. Okay, and I'm just going to glue... I'm gluing right up to this fold. Okay, we're just going to glue it down there really good. And then I'll just cut off the excess. And then we'll glue the pocket shut. And this one got long, guys. See, my first one back and I'm already... I think these are fun. I don't know. I can't wait to do the others. She has... I told you this is from Faith Art Design Studio. And she has 6 of these in the video that I watched. And we are going to try and do all 6 of them. And then I'm going to find some other things to do with file folders, because I think I said in the first video, have a ton of them. I'm going to go ahead and do this in the center. And then what I'll do is I'll cut the ends off. That way I'm not trying to line it up and I don't miss. But I will definitely miss. I shouldn't have folded that. Okay, so this gives us a lining for our pocket. All right, so let's flip this over and cut these off. I've got a little piece there that's kind of overhanging. I don't know. We'll have to see. All right. All right, so then this, I would use the medium, clip that corner and see how it kind of ties that in so it's not so stark. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this up, and this makes our pocket. I don't know why that got out of whack. I'll worry about that later. Okay, and then this makes our pocket. So I'm actually going to use my skinny one this time. So I get little thin layers of glue. Got a little bit of overlap here. All right, so we get thin layers of glue along here, and then we're going to clip this shut. Right there. Right there, and you get a nice big pocket back here. That's really nice. Okay. All right, and that gives us our pocket here, which is really nice, and this is covered. And then this part here, I will cover also. I'll decorate it. Probably with some like lace and stuff, just because, you know me guys, I like all my lacy things. So this will probably get some lace to go up here and cover that back part. And then we're back over here to the inside where I wanted to let the one page dry before I went flipping it. Was this one. It still wants to bubble right there. Yeah, I feel like you can't really get away from it completely. I mean, maybe you can, but everywhere else seems to be okay. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. All right. And then this would be down over it like that. Okay. And then this closes, hopefully, like that. Now, of course, all of these folds are going to get tighter because you've covered them, but that's the way it looks now. And we've got this nice file. It's nice and sturdy. I still have to cover this one, and we have to cover this, but I'm going to let you go because I feel like that gives you an idea of where we are with these. Now, when we get to the end of this series, we may come back and like add pages to these and make them complete journals. They may go into, you know, some sort of project row and we'll finish them off. But right now, I just want to show you some of the things you can make with these file folders. And I think this is going to be a lot of fun. This is another one of the tall, narrow ones. Some of them are not tall, narrow. I think the next one we do is not. So we'll get into something that's a little more the normal shape that we're used to. And I hope you guys will come back for another file folder adventure, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.